there's signs I'm supposed to be up there. This mole is the exact shape of the Orion Nebula.
I think you should have that looked at.
I really want to start with congratulations.
Thank you.
I saw it last night in 3D. I am not a fan of 3D, but the 3D in this is fantastic.
Yeah,
So I am, and also anamorphic widescreen. Like, I really want to talk about that.
Yeah.
I don't think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think a Pixar movie has been done in anamorphic widescreen, or am I wrong about this?
I don't know about the anamorphic camera.
What about Good Dinosaur?
Was I mean, widescreen, yes, but the anamorphic camera was a choice that.
Okay, we'll get back to you.
Yeah.
You chose that, right?
Yeah,
You did.
that was our DP Jordan pitching that we started to watch all of the classic sci-fi films that we wanted to draw inspiration from, and we started to break down why do they look the way that they do. Like there's this sort of richness to them. The shadows are deeper. The film grain just feels there's something really romantic about the way that these movies would portray space. Like obviously E.T., Close Encounters, and even the scarier movies. I still think there's a romance to it, like the Alien and John Carpenter's The Thing. There's just like a quality that we wanted to capture. And when Jordan broke down all those things and he was pitching like, let's change the aspect ratio to widescreen, use the anamorphic lens, and he showed us some stills that were tests, we were like, oh my God, that looks so good. It was a really exciting moment for us.
It made space look more epic, and it made Elio feel more lonely in compositions.
Yeah, the widescreen helped a lot, which is a tricky thing to change mid project, but it was so worth it.
Worth it.
I am very curious. Did anyone, like some line producer or a Disney executive, say, wait, what?
I'll be honest. I think as the producer, Claudia came to me like, they have this idea. I was like, oh no, and I was like, huh. But then once you went into the screening room, because we were even like, what are we gonna think? And then I think they showed you like 2 scenes, and you were like, oh, I totally get it.
There was
the scene where he's like running away from the bullies in camp, and then he gets abducted.
Yeah, there was an A/B of like, here it is in the previous aspect ratio, and there he is, he's sitting behind a log, that's sad. But then when it changed to widescreen, all of a sudden there was just so much empty space and just that tiny little boy sitting there, and he felt so much lonelier. And you're like, oh, yeah, fantastic.
And since
you just felt it.
Yeah, you felt it, and we all worked together under one roof, so it's just so easy. So Derek and Jordan were really into this. They showed it, and we're like, okay, let's do it. And they changed everything so quickly.
It was awesome.
I think if it was more bureaucratic, it'd be hard, but we all were like, yeah, it's worth it. Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things about animation is you can, it goes through a lot of revisions, especially after each screening and what you learn. So I'm always curious, how radically did this one change from inception to what everyone's going to see in movie theaters?
Yeah.
I mean, with every one of our movies at Pixar, like the plot changes quite a bit from the very first pitch to the final movie. Same with Turning Red. The original version was much different, but the core of it, the heart of it, I think stays consistent. And
the conceit never changed.
Yeah, it was always about a boy. Like the concept was what if the world's weirdest kid gets abducted by aliens and is mistaken for the leader of Earth? Mm-hmm. And I think the iteration and the revisions were kind of trying to explore like why does he want to get abducted by aliens? What is he trying to solve in himself? And how does he go from wanting to run away from Earth to accepting Earth at the end? And how we achieve those goals would change and iterate, but those tent poles are always there from the beginning. Yeah.
You guys have a mid-credit scene. How much did you debate that? And was it always that scene?
Yeah.
There were different versions, but I think we always wanted, well, I guess it's kind of spoilery, but we wanted to leave the door open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little.
Yeah.
Just a crack.
Yeah.
A
little bit of hope.
Yeah. But the idea was really early, but there were different versions of it, as Domee said. So that version probably came on the later side, but the idea was there for a while.
Like we always wanted it to feel like the door was open a little bit.
Yeah.
So one of the things about animation is, I'm curious, what shot or sequence were you guys working on where the animation team was like, are you sure? Like really? Like you're 100% you need it this way.
Are you sure?
Deep cuts.
I mean, This isn't one shot in particular, but capes are really hard. And Elio has multiple capes over the course of the film. And not only that, but when we designed the cape, we wanted it to have this grandeur and opulence that he felt like he could imagine he was the leader of Earth wearing it. So it's also a really complicated design and the complicated pattern on the back, which simulation's like, okay, it's beautiful, thank you. But they did such an amazing job that as I watch it, even though I know that it was hard, I'm not thinking about the technical challenge. I'm just thinking about character-wise, like, oh, Elio's so happy to be wearing this impressive outfit.
Yeah, it really like helps with the wish fulfillment kind of aspect of the story. He finally has like an outfit that, you know, he feels comfortable in, that feels like his.
I'm trying to think if there was anything else, but everyone was so enthusiastic.
Everyone's so game.
Yeah, they sometimes push for things that are harder than even we asked for.
Yeah, like the animators like want the challenge. Like when we give them characters like Glorden who has no eyes, or Grygon as well, and we're like, here, like now you have to like animate a touching, heartfelt father-son reunion scene with characters with no
They're looking
eyes.
at each other.
In like 2 shots, and you have no eyes, but they have to look soulfully at each other somehow and go. And they're like, yes, this is great. Yeah. Get me in there.
What I'm curious about is with animation, I would imagine certain sequences or shots are more difficult, require more resources. So how do you decide where and when to deploy those additional resources? Because you do have a finite budget.
Yes.
And you do have to deliver it on time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
sure.
how does that work out?
It's a constant conversation, and one thing Maddie and Domee were great at is like combining shots will help us. So it's like if we have this many shots, it might be harder. Can you combine them? And then you're just talking to the team about like, this is really important. We want to put more people here. So what could we make a little simpler? So, but it's pretty much a constant conversation of what's important to these guys
and communicating between departments. And on this show, we had something called College Project, which is like we just combined a bunch of reviews from all of these departments together into one big meeting. So all of the supervisors are in the room together and they're all talking about stuff. And so if one person's like, oh, that's too expensive, another person from another department will be like, oh, we can take that.
Or we can hide it with lighting. Like, don't worry about it.
Yeah. Or we can move the camera just so and like cut it out. So it was just all a collaborative process in that sense.
This is not what I was gonna ask, but I was talking about this in the hallway. So I'm so curious what your thoughts are on this. When you look at the beginning of Pixar and the movies and how they look, you know, they're antiquated compared to what is in this. This is like holy F. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm just curious, what are your thoughts on the idea of Pixar, quote unquote, remastering like an older movie like Ratatouille, like Ratatouille, using like the modern, and I don't know how expensive it is, but using like the modern
rendering
software. And redoing something like shot by shot, like it's exactly the same movie but with modern animation. Is that something that you think is like good, or do you think that's like, no, it was made at that, it should be that, and let's not mess with it?
There's so much charm in some of the jank, though. Like in
there is charm in the jank.
The original Toy Story, it's so fun to watch because you're watching something happen for the first time. That's the first time that ever happened. And everyone's blinking like this. And like Woody's acting is kind of weird. But that's what's so fun about it. I don't know.
And you'll like talk to Pete Docter and he'll be like, oh my gosh, that scene was so hard to animate and we were like messing around with that rig and it was taking forever. And I think that's part of the charm of the movies. I'm a purist. I don't think I would touch those movies. And they should stay as they are. In time, cool. Even though I love playing video games that are like remastered too. I know, but I'm a hypocrite. So
I know that's tough.
Yeah, it's intriguing.
Yeah, I have to stop. I'm out of time. I want to say congrats, but I do like the idea of possibly remastering movies with like modern animation.
It's a good idea.